Hello everyone, my name is Sakshi Sadegaonkar and today I am going to tell you about the constructors. Today's date is 15th February 2024 and today is the technical topic for today's video. So what is meant by the constructor? Constructor is a special type of method method that is present in the Java. The constructors are used to create the constructors are used to create the objects and initialize the instance variables of the object. Instance variables of the objects. Constructors constructs the values for the object, so it is called as the constructor. Constructor constructs the data for the given object, so it is known as the constructor. There are mainly two types of constructor present in the Java. One is the default constructor and other is the parameterized constructor. The default constructor is the constructor which doesn't have any value in it, doesn't have any value, or that it doesn't contain any parameter. It is an empty constructor. When there is a no constructor called externally in the Java, then the compiler automatically calls the default constructor. Then second one is the parameterized constructor. The parameterized constructor consists of the parameters, and parameterized constructor is called by the externally by the user. The constructor does not have any return type because constructor is used to create the object. Constructor is used to create the object and to initialize the values to the object. Constructor is not returning anything. It's used for the creation of the object, for initializing the values to that object. There is one also concept of the constructor chaining. The constructor chaining is the process of calling the one constructor from the another constructor. One constructor from the another constructor. It means that you have to you are constructor chaining is nothing. Constructor chaining is the process of calling the one constructor from the another constructor with respect to the same object. It is known as the constructor chaining process. If you have the scenario that you doesn't externally called any constructor, then what happens behind the scenario is that then the default constructor is automatically going to call by the compiler for that particular class in the Java. It means if you didn't externally called any type of the constructor, then the default constructor will automatically gets called. Default constructor will have the no parameters and the no arguments. It is known as the default constructor and it is called automatically. User didn't need to call it by the value. So it is all about the constructors. Constructor is a special type of method available in the Java, and the constructor does not return anything, and constructor is used for the creation of the object and to initialize the values to the instance variable of that object. So it's all about the constructors in a Java. So thank you. And the constructors plays a very important role in the Java programming language, because if the constructor is not there, then the object doesn't have the values, the object cannot be instantiated with any value. So the constructors have to be called for giving the values to the instance variable of that object. When in starting we learn about the class and object, we just didn't know about the constructors, but the constructor is there present in that when we create the object by using the new keyword, like the class name, object name is equal to new class name, and then we give the brackets and then semicolon, and this class name and the bracket is nothing but the constructor. Remember that the constructor has the same name as that of the class name. So the constructor overloading is possible, but the constructor overriding is not possible. In the constructor overloading, we can create the many constructor but with the different arguments, so that the constructor overloading is possible in Java, but the constructor overriding is not possible in the Java, because the constructor have to give the same name as the constructor has the same name as that of the class name. And in overriding, if we create the another another constructor in the different class, then there is the ambiguity is created, and it violates the rule of the constructor name is the same as that of the class name. So the constructor overriding is not allowed in the Java, but the constructor overloading is 100% allowed in the Java. Java supports the constructor overloading concept. Concept. Then again, one type of the constructor, copy constructor, is present in the C++, but it is not present in the but not present in the Java. Constructors have the as many arguments as we want: 1 argument, 2 argument, 3 argument, and according to that we can say that the one parameterized constructor, 2 parameterized constructor, 3 parameterized constructor. In short, we said it as the parameterized constructor. One is the default constructor and another is the parameterized constructor. Default constructor called automatically directly, it doesn't contain any value, it is the empty constructor, and the parameterized constructor contains the parameters and the arguments. So it's all about the constructors in a Java. So thank you.